So, as with any of my videos, risk of trigger warning, um, it's been tough. I grew up poor, definitely rich in being able to access the library, always having books in the house, always having music in the house, constantly being stimulated mentally and emotionally in terms of, you know how music touches you, and how stories can take you anywhere, especially if you're in traumatic environments and stuff like that. So those are both good escapes. So what I lacked in resources, I had in other ways. And but I grew up knowing that community can help. I remember there were times when a friend of mine, her local church that she was a part of, we didn't have enough food and we couldn't afford enough food. So, they gave us some supplies that made Christmas really nice. But I know how to ration. I know how to go without, and I know how to be very selective of what I have. And so when I don't have to, it's nice, and I can, just get what I want when I want. It's nice. But having those skill sets from growing up in not the most healthiest of environments, yeah, I could look back on them and I could pity myself and I could get stuck in lack mentality and I could do all sorts of things that a lot of trauma survivors go through. But I try and view them as, okay, these are lessons I've learned. These are things I've survived. What skill sets have I learned from them? And how can I use those skill sets in any situation? How can I appreciate the value of things? Like right now, I have a nice tasty drink. It's water with a little bit of syrup. But, I mean, that's not necessarily conventional glass, right? Because all the conventional glasses that are for sale around here are itty bitty little things that are not the easiest to clean. They're fragile and they're expensive for what they are, and they're just not satisfying. They're itty bitty. If I want to have a drink, yay, water, hydration. It's summertime. Yes, this week has been cooler, but I'd like to have a fucking glass that actually, serves a purpose. And those are free. And if I keep breaking the ones that you buy at the store because they're just too fragile, they're not useful, it's like, why am I going to go out and buy more? Why am I going to spend money on that? Especially since I want to participate in the recycling program, and so the glass recycling bins, whatever, they don't stay at my house. You have to actually go to the little town up that way or the other things down that way, and that's like at least 4 kilometers that way, and then maybe another 4 that way. I don't know. On foot, I'm not doing that. I mean, even when my son was here and we had a car, it took us like years to get rid of any of the glass bottles that needed to be recycled. So I know how to, I mean, they're free. You buy your peanut butter, you buy your, and I'm lucky when I can find peanut butter that size. Okay? Because otherwise it's these itty little bitty stupid bottles that you can't actually get everything out of. I mean, you can turn it into sauce, right? But they're usually plastic, and they're like, almost €3 for an itty bitty little container when I can get something that size for like the same price. And it usually has less sugar. It's actually got more of the peanut flavor. But you get your spaghetti sauces, you get your compote, apple sauces, purees, whatever, other things, and it's like, it's free, and it works. So I'm gonna conserve. That way I can save my money, buy it for more food, stuff I actually need, as opposed to going, I have to go high class, I have to be an adult. Nah. So, I know how to ration, I know how to save. And one of the things that I've been having to do is make sure that I teach that to my son, because when he was with his father, he grew up in the environment of, if you don't eat at a very specific time, that's it. You don't eat. And that's not healthy. psychologically, physically, emotionally. Um, but at the same time, what it did for him was he had to continue wearing the mask over himself, who he is as a person, the trauma he was going through. And so when he was at school, he would eat all of his lunch plus anything else his friends didn't want because they came from homes that had more stability, that didn't have the same kind of traumas that he was going through. Some of them have traumas, yes, but not the same ones. And so they had the luxury of going, I really don't like these kind of foods, or oh, it's too much. I'm just not interested, And it wasn't a question of them being kind and making up an excuse to make sure he ate. It was more a question of they just didn't want it. They were picky, and he was hungry. So he would eat anything and everything he could to make sure that he knew where his next meal was coming from. So when he first moved in with me, he still had that mentality. And he was still going to school at the time, end of middle school. And so that was something he had to unlearn. So it was also a question of, okay, yes, I'm allowed to eat whenever I'm hungry. I don't have to have that fear. I don't have to have that toxicity. I don't have to have that guilt. I don't have to have that shame or any of that stuff. But at the same time, it's also learning to control oneself, to not overindulge, and to make sure you know why you're eating. Is it actually because I'm hungry? Is it because I'm missing a specific nutrient and I'm craving, like a lot of people, they crave chocolate when they're low in iron. Why am I hungry? So I've had to help educate him on that. And then also to not overindulge in comfort foods because he's having an emotional crisis. And, to make sure that, he actually enjoys it as opposed to just consuming it because he has to do something. And also not to use it as a counterbalance of where he was. Even though he had access to all kinds of foods, he had access to all kinds of stuff, not always what he wanted, or not always what was best for him, but he had access to it. And here it's much more limited, and I'm forced to have it limited. So I've been having to educate him on that. It's like, if you're hungry, eat, and if it's just enough to stave off that hunger, until mealtime or whatever, fine, but educate yourself on it. And so that's some of the stuff I've been having to help him with. And doing that over the last year and several months has helped him work through some of the trauma. It's helped him work through some of the fear, the guilt, the pain. Also educated him on not to overindulge in certain things. Because, did you know that cinnamon is an anti-suppressant? Okay? So in theory, everyone's going like, oh, maybe I can lose a little bit of weight by having cinnamon. Yeah, pay really close attention to that, because too much cinnamon can cause liver damage, for one. But for two, if you don't do it right, like there's a lot of people out there on the different magazines and stuff like that, or online magazines, or whatever you want to call them, and they're saying, okay, so you can make your own tasty coffee at home, right? You can add a little bit of cinnamon, actually into the pot, and then you can brew it, and it'll be great, and it'll be so flavorful and well balanced and mixed together and stuff. Yeah, in theory, that's great. The problem is that steeping, like if you don't drink the coffee right away, and you make like a pot of it and you just let it sit, it steeps. So it expands, it gets more profound. And if you do that for like a week, okay, yeah, you're going to have an appetite suppressant, but it can get you to the point, depending on how much you're doing, how much the dosage is, and how your body reacts to it, how much food you're getting and stuff like that, how much activity, blah, blah, blah. How much of it you're consuming, how often you're redoing it, you can get to the point of hypoglycemia. Okay, and so my son had never experienced that, and he didn't know, and he's just like, oh yes, this is great, more, and I'm like, oh God, I had to fix that. And there was a period of time where he wanted cinnamon in everything, because there's certain curry powders that I can actually eat, because certain ones I can't. They've got an ingredient in it that I'm allergic to, sometimes too. But I found two versions of curry that didn't have those ingredients, and so they did have cinnamon, or he wanted extra cinnamon added in because it's tasty. And so we had to really pay attention to that, and it was a learning curve. But because of the fact that I'm not stupid, I read up on anything and everything I can, and I try and figure out what's the nutritional value, what's the health benefits, what are the risk factors. Most people don't mention the risk factors. Most people don't look into the risk factors, and you can't always easily find them. So it was a learning curve. But the last year and several months have helped him to educate himself on what food is, why it is, not calorie counting, because calorie counting is actually kind of stupid. I know there are benefits to it, blah, 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 whatever, fine. But when you're just trying to understand the process of eating, what is a diet? Not dieting, but what is your diet? Why? What needs does your body have? Because autoimmune disorder people, they're going to have different needs than, someone who doesn't have autoimmune disorders. Mental health issues, you need more vitamin Bs, you need more vitamin D, you need more healthy gut bacteria. I mean, technically we should be having those anyway, but you need certain boosts here and there, and how to find them, and how to not be picky. And so it's been a learning curve on a lot of things. But rationing has been something that we've had to do, because I've got him for the while. I had him and his older brother. But then I've also got my oldest son's dog. And then I've got a horde of cats that all stay outside, and only having 120 a week is difficult. Now, if I had all of that at once, that would mean that I could go on one shopping trip, shop for the month. I could actually divide the money better so that I could buy bulk items. And there's not many bulk stores here. It's not like you have Sam's or you have Costco or whatever. So you got to know how to shop and where to shop smart. So not having access to that means that I have to pay higher prices for smaller amounts of stuff. And I have to be really, really careful on how much I can afford for all of us. And I've got at least 20 cats. And it's never always the same cats, because I can't afford to sterilize them. I can't afford to take them to the vet. I can't afford anything for them other than trying to feed them. And, so it's complicated. And it's way more complicated than it should be. So I'm having to, help him learn that skill set and understand it and see it as, okay, this sucks. It bites the big one. But how can I make it work for me? How can I use it, for if I'm, out and I'm camping with somebody and stuff like that, we got a limited supply of food and stuff like that, and we get stuck. What do I do? How do I make it last? How do I add stuff in from nature? Because I've been teaching him foraging as well, because there's several plants in the garden that I really, really like. We've got a ton of nettles. Those are really good. You can make those into teas. Gives you good vitamin counts. There's the sow thistle, which is a member of the dandelion family. And the leaves are really tasty. Like dandelion leaves, bitter. No matter when you pick them, they're bitter. But the sow thistle, if you add those to salads, or you can cook them up like spinach, whatever, they have much more flavor and they have much better nutrients and vitamin count than most of the store-bought vegetables, or most of the store-bought lettuces, especially iceberg. But, there's also other herbs. There's, what is it, crane's bill? It's the original type of geranium as opposed to the ones you get at the store. And those are really good for brain function. So, I've been teaching him, what garden plants that are considered weeds, are actually really beneficial, tasty, and how to use them. These are things that we should know. Going to the supermarket, you're limited to what's available. And I know that people in Puerto Rico, they have a very different shopping system than the majority of the mainland, United States. And then depending on where you are in the United States, the shopping is very different than you'll get in France. I don't like most of the vegetables they have here. They're boring. I'm sorry. I know I'm white, but it's white. It's bland. Um, it's like I follow this one lady. She's Vietnamese and she's in Germany and she's epic. And I look at the vegetables, that she's able to find, ship to her because there's other people that want those things too, and they understand how different German vegetables are, German cooking is, and I'm watching and I'm going, I want those. I want the tasty things. Because I mean, one of the things that I learned was, going to the Korean market back when I was in the States. They had fantastic vegetables. They had fantastic meats. They had fantastic everything that was not necessarily easily available at the normal stores. And so I'm more used to diversity and flavors and taste and different ways to cook. And so it's like it's really limited. And when you are forced to shop at a store that is small, it's even more limited. And apparently I can't buy online. So yeah, that's been fun. I know I can't get delivery normally, but it's been difficult because for about a week now, I've been having to ration to the point where we were out of dog food. We were out of cat food. And we were running out of people food. I would have been out of food tomorrow, the day after, just for the people. And that's because I couldn't find transportation. My son moved up to, up north near Paris, and he's got the car. My license is expired. My cars are dead. They've been dead since 2019. And any of the people that are in charge of my situation have ignored it. Just like my passport is dead. And I don't have the money to go up to Paris. I don't have the money to renew it. And there's no point anyway because of the fact that I don't have any of the documents to be able to get my son his passport because my ex controls all of that and my ex wants to keep us here. We're legally bound here because of my ex. And it's a power game. It's not about love. It's not about fear of, oh, what will happen if you leave, and live in a different country. And at least here you're taken care of. Here we're taken care of in a way that self-sabotages and sets us up to fail and causes entrapment. And so not having any kind of transport, and I did try. I got some groceries the one Friday, and then I had the aphasia attack afterwards, the brain damage attack afterwards. And I can't do that again. It's too risky. And I've got a weak heart. I can't do that kind of cardio. So when I told my friend who, she's lovely and I adore her, but she does boxing, kickboxing and stuff like that. And she's like, oh yeah, your heartbeat, spiking up while you're exercising, walking and stuff like that to 153. That's not a problem. That's exercise. That's normal. Not for me. Not for me. The medication that they put me on after the stroke almost 10 years ago damaged my heart. I don't even know what medication it was. I don't even think it had anything to do with stroke damage. I think it was more an antipsychotic, which I shouldn't have been on in any way. But my body is damaged, so I can't walk the 7 kilometers in the heat, uphill, down dale, all over the place, and get groceries and then bring them back. Thankfully, that time I didn't have to bring them back. I probably would have had to been hospitalized had I had to bring them back. But I can't even do the go trip there now. And the woman in charge of my situation has not contacted me. I've sent several emails updating what the situation is, needing help, requesting help, demanding that I get changed from her care because she's been with me for over a year and 8 months. This is the 9th month. And she has done more damage than any of the help that she is supposed to be doing or has done. And I want someone new. I want out of here. I don't want to deal with anyone else. I want to get out. But if I have to be here, I need someone new who's going to do their job and not hide behind, oh, but I'm so polite. Yes, I'm totally listening to you. What do you mean I'm not listening to you? Oh my God, what do you mean I'm just, shit covered in gold foil? It's like, I rage at people when it's justified. When I have a valid reason, like my life being at risk, my son's life being at risk, the animals' lives being at risk. And my options are severely limited. It's not like I can just, go online, make a delivery order for groceries, and have it come to me. That's not an option where I am. In certain parts of France, yes, not in my area. And it's not like I can go on Amazon and order stuff and have it delivered. I don't have delivery here. For whatever reason, my neighbors do, but I don't. And I'm lucky if I get all of my bills. And that's about it. So I've been having to ration to extreme levels, and I've been losing about 1 kilo a week, which, in theory, yay, I'm getting myself back. Woohoo! But the way it's being done is not healthy. And I'm having to take extreme measures to make sure that I get some of the vitamins and minerals that I need. Because I do have autoimmune disorders. I do have stroke damage. I do have mental health issues because of everything that we're dealing with. And I have low vitamin D to the point where at one point it was so dangerously low that the pain clinics didn't know what was going on, and the doctors didn't know what was going on, and everyone thought I was a hypochondriac because, well, obviously, you've had 3 GIs, upper GI, lower GI, there's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong with you? Why are you complaining? Why are you in pain? It's got to be in your head. And then I forced them to give me a vitamin D test, and they're like, oh, you're dangerously low. I was developing rickets because I was that low. Well, just go out in the sunshine. Hello, I'm a redhead. Hi, we process it differently and we burn. So just going out in the sunshine isn't really going to do it. Yes, you're a good puppy. I know. You're a lonely puppy. So there's lots of medical gaslighting and other things like that. But I contacted the town hall. Both past emails and then the town hall, but past emails from the woman in charge of my case and the town hall gave me the same number. There's a volunteer group in the area, transportation solidarity kind of thing, and just call them. I mean, they need at least 2 to 3 day warning time so that they can schedule something. But it's cheap. It's not like there's really taxis here. There's 2 taxis in my area, and one of them, I don't know how much it would cost. And I'd have to pay out of pocket, which I don't have enough to spare to be able to pay for that and be able to buy groceries that we need. The other one is a medical taxi, where their primary job is taking you from where you are to whatever medical appointments you have. And that's about it. There's no buses. I can't go to my neighbors. They're all abusive. They don't want to understand my situation. They don't want to give any grace. And they just want to judge. So the toxicity that I get from them is traumatizing on top of all the other trauma I deal with. So they're not an option. I've got no friends here. Anyone I was friends with have made it very clear through their actions while we were friends, as well as after they went no contact, that I don't matter, that I'm only good to be used and appreciated for what fun I can give in the moment. Anything else, that's it. So it's not like I have people here. I have no family here. I have nothing. It's just me. And trying to call the solidarity group, I can't properly hear them. I've got hearing damage in both of my ears, which is medically documented. No one pays attention to that. No one replies to emails. No one wants to use emails. And the people on the phone, they're aggressive. They're rude. They don't want to listen to comprehend. And it's triggering. And I'm already having a hard time getting past the aphasia. I'm better now, but it's taken me, over a week? And all of that compiles up. It makes it difficult. Beyond difficult, really. And people keep expecting me, oh, just make this phone call. Oh, just make that phone call. I can't. especially if I get those kind of people on the phone. And so I exhausted every option I could to make sure I could get food in the house. And my last resort was calling the taxi people who do medical stuff. And they're like, okay, we'll help. And when I contacted them, the guy on the phone, he was professional. He didn't judge. He just listened. He's like, okay, all right, this is what we have available. What do you need? What's this? What's that? It was done. But everybody else I deal with, it's like, they'll hang up on you. They'll try and, weasel their way out of it. They don't want to listen. They will just pile on more abuse, more judgment, more whatever they can. And they'll come in with this attack attitude. And it's like, I can't defend myself properly in French, especially when I'm suffering. The more I suffer, the harder it becomes to function at all. So I got lucky, and now I have to set something up. But the curatel, the woman in charge of my case, she still hasn't reached out. The lawyers have not reached out. No one has replied to anything I have emailed. And they don't take it seriously at just how damaged I am. And I don't have handicap status because I have no one to help me with the paperwork. And I have been so abused physically, psychologically, emotionally, and forced to take medication I don't even know what it is that did damage. I need someone to protect me. I need someone to help translate. I need someone to help take notes because I'm so focused in the moment of just trying to stay calm, not have a panic attack, to be able to find the words as the words are getting stolen because I'm trying to stay calm, because I'm trying to focus on not having a panic attack. And the panic attack is still there and wanting to take over, and I can't find the information. And when you have those toxic people on top of it, it's just... So I don't have handicap status even though I am handicapped. And I constantly have to prove these are the things that I need. Work with me. This is what I need. This is why I need it. And for anything that I do have medical proof on, it's proof. Show me at base minimum some compassion, some humanity. I'm willing to work with people, but I need specific things. It's not because, I'm petty and I want things my way and I'm egocentric and I have to have, I have to get my nails done and I have to have all the pretty things and I have to have bubbly water as opposed to regular water. And I can't drink sink water. It has to be filtered water. And oh my God, that's not me. Okay. I need valid things for my brain to function. And they're just like, yeah, no, you're just being a pain in the ass. You just want preferential treatment. It's like, no, I want to be able to function. This is how I function. We need to find a middle ground so that we can work together. And they don't want to. And they just ignore me. They neglect me. And it's slowly killing me. And it's taking everything that I could be and shoving it down and saying, here, you can just live in survival mode. It's good enough. It's fine. So I should be celebrating right now. Yay, I have food. But there's still that resentment and anger towards people who are allowing me to live like this, who are not doing their job, who are not stepping up, who are not helping, and who are not respecting any sort of boundaries, who are not even respecting any sort of court orders, and causing entrapment and causing negligence to the point of potential death. Potential homicide as well for my son, because he's losing it. And I'm doing the best I can, but there's only so much I can do. And if he goes off and does anything towards his father, or if he loses himself and goes off on anyone around him, I'm going to get blamed for it. They're going to use me as a scapegoat. That ain't right. I'm being set up to fail. I'm being set up in so many ways. But I'm being set up to die for them. Because they don't want to do their job. Because they don't want to be decent humans. It doesn't matter if they're volunteer or if they're paid professionals or if they work with the court. But I should be celebrating. You know, I got food in the house. It's not enough. Couldn't afford to get enough vegetables. Couldn't figure out what vegetables to get. Wasn't even sure how much money I would have in my account because I don't know what's on my account. No one has helped me to set up online banking so that I can at least see how much is in the account. And I know that my curatel knows that my middle son has moved out, and so therefore I don't get any benefits for him being here. So I don't even know because she hasn't said anything. She doesn't operate through emails. She doesn't, and she wants to operate through phone calls, which I've told her I can't do because I can't remember because of the brain damage and the trauma damage, which augments the brain damage. So I don't even know how much money I'm getting per week now. Is it 120? Has it gone down to 80? Has it gone down to 90? I don't know. I have no idea. So I had to make sure that I got the bare minimum that would last us the rest of the week and over the weekend, and give me some time to be able to set up some sort of transportation. And that means not having all the nutrients that we need, not all the nutrition we need for all of our health issues, our known health issues. And that includes the mental health stuff. And when I got home and I put everything away and I fed the cats, as I'm walking back in from feeding the cats, I noticed that my favorite kitten, the little orange and white one, had passed in the night. And it's just like one more thing. I have lost so many kittens. Granted, they shouldn't be here in the first place because I should have been able to sterilize them. But there's really no help for that here. There's only 1 month that poor people can have access to reduced prices on sterilization. Only 1 month. And you have to pay more if they're already pregnant. Females cost more than males in general. And it's still too high. And it's just like there's not very much help here. And yeah, they say, oh yes, there's all kinds of benefits, there's all kinds of help. No, there's not. Not for people like me. Not in general either. If you don't know it exists, if you don't have someone fighting for you, looking for options, if you don't know what options are even there. And it's just like one more time, I've got to deal with the death. One more time, I've got to deal with the abuse and not take it personally as a failure. And it's hard because it's not so much animal malnutrition, animal abuse caused by these people not doing their job or not helping me to find the people who can help me in the ways that I need. It trickles down to the root cause of the trauma, which is my ex-husband. And it's like, no matter how far away I move from him, no matter how far I try and escape from any of it, he's still there. I'm still tied to him. And it still ties in to everything I'm dealing with. And it triggers all those wounding back right up again, and I can't afford to spiral. So I'm only allowed to grieve to a certain point. Because yes, there's grief in the loss of the kitten. And it was such a sweet baby. She's such a sweet baby. But it's not just that. It's the loss of all that I am. This wouldn't have happened if I would have been allowed to live my life freely. But I didn't get that opportunity. And everyone keeps telling me to just shut up, accept what you got, and move on. Doesn't work that way with trauma. Doesn't work that way when you're being treated with injustice and violations of human and animal rights. It just keeps piling on more and more and more you have to deal with. And I'm coping pretty well. There's a lot of me that's shut down. And but I'm coping with it because I have to survive. I have to ration everything, not just the food, but I have to ration all that I am. I have to conserve my energy. I have to do this, that, and the other thing. And I have to ration how deeply I dive into the pain and the trauma and deal with it. And I'm having to teach those things to my son so that he can stay alive, so that he can keep his humanity and his sanity. Because he's losing it. And we need help. We need out of here. And he's getting closer and closer to the edge, and I'm doing everything I can. And losing the kitten just kind of reminds me of how much more do I have to lose? And you know, if I can't keep a kitten alive, I'm doing real good with my son, but I can't hold out forever. And he's on the edge. And he's having more and more dark thoughts because none of this is right. None of this is just. None of this is legal. And it's pushed him closer and closer to the edge. And I told him, and I've told others before, I refuse to be the monster my ex tried to make me, tried to say I was, which is why I still fight. Because if I become that monster, he wins. He was right. And that's not who I am. And my son gets it, but he can't use it as the same motivation because he was groomed to be that monster. They all were. And it's not who they are. But that's what they were conditioned to become. And my son specifically, my youngest, was groomed to be a copy of his father. And when he was 9 years old, that's when he figured it out. All on his own. And no kid should go through that. No one should go through that at any age. But he's having dark thoughts, dark ideations, and he wants to act on them because he just wants it to be over. And it's like, if I can't even get in line, so we need help. I do want to show appreciation to one of the dudes on Instagram. He was sweet. Someone I follow, very nice artist, does really good stuff. And he took notice and he's like, whoa, is this really the reality of your situation? And I was like, yeah, this is my reality. And I hate it. But this is my reality. And he offered to send some money, which was sweet. And I appreciate that. But it wouldn't do any good. I mean, yeah, I do need money, but I don't want other people's money. I want my money. I want what's been denied me. Lost wages, compensation for all I've had to do just to survive, just to stay alive this long, just to keep fighting this long. But yeah, I need money. But so what? Most of the apps that work in the United States for transferring money, they only work in the United States, or they work in the United States and Canada, or Canada and the UK, or just the UK and the United States, and that's it. Unless you have specific ones that work internationally, it won't work. So the intention is great, but it won't work. On top of that, because of the fact that I have to buy anything online, because I can't transfer it to my bank, it wouldn't make a difference anyway. But, you know, even if I could get it and buy something online, there's no delivery. And I can't use it at the local supermarkets, you know, in terms of online shopping, because that's not an option. So most of the options that are easy and available in the United States are not available in Europe, let alone specifically in France. So people make assumptions that things are the same here. You know, it's 2023, you know, technology is easy, it should be easy. Options should be easy. It's not. It's like living back in the 80s. You know, this is going to take me over an hour to upload. It's going to eat at least a gigabyte of my data. But I appreciate. I really do. And it's nice to know that people believe and that they want to help. And the people that I've been talking with in the comments of the posts that Dr. Glenn Patrick Doyle posts, they've been lovely. I have a lot of wisdom. I've survived a lot, and I refuse to let what I've survived control me. I don't have that luxury. And I know that sounds insulting to other people, but for me, that's what it is. I can't give in to the spiraling. I can't give in to all of it. I have to keep going like Atreyu in the swamps of sadness. So my observations, my coping skills, my self-awareness, my awareness of the human condition and humanity has educated me in ways that most people don't understand, don't look at. And it's given me different perspective and different ways to try and communicate it in ways that people can go and have aha moments so they can get it and so they can feel seen. And so I share that. And I'm raw and vulnerable when I do that. But a lot of people have been liking what I have to say and giving positive feedback. And I need that because I was so conditioned to be worthless and not good enough and all kinds of things. And I am good enough. I am more than good enough. And I'm not too much. I'm not too difficult. Not if people treat me right. But I won't take shit anymore. I can't afford it. And but they've been lovely, and it's been helping, because every time I get positive feedback and people really see me and people really take a notice of what I'm saying and how it can touch their life and how it can help them, whatever they need to do, or gives them those aha moments that kind of like end the cycle, you know, because you go round and round and round and round until something just cuts it, and then you get free and you can go on until you get into the next cycle, and then you can get out of that and keep going. What I say ends up helping to cut that cycle so that they can move on and do a little bit more healing and growth. And every time that someone, you know, gives that positive feedback back, it helps to reestablish my self-confidence and